What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Champion Living Podcast, the only podcast crossing the lines between the sport of rodeo and fitness. Today's episode, we got the one and only Skip Ransom, one of our best friends. We've been waiting to hear your story for a long time.
Well,
and also talking of trauma.
I'm gonna give you the Reader's Digest version today.
Can I get the Spark Notes?
Can I say,
How did you end up with a stripper name like Skip Ransom?
can I say bad words?
Yeah, you can say bad words.
Okay.
Whatever you want.
I'm gonna give you the shitter version.
Okay.
All right, the version
Let's
you can
hear it.
read on the shitter like that. Okay, so I'm glad you asked because I feel like there's probably a herd of people out there who have that same question. In 2020, I changed my name legally. It used to be Jeffrey.
No.
No.
Shelby, am I lying? I ain't lying to you. I
She's
promise
not
you.
here.
Jeffy?
There's nobody
Jeffrey.
here.
Oh, yeah, no, but Jeffy is what I'm
Isn't
going to
that
go
the
with.
thing in the movie where you do Jeffrey and you stroke the
You're
wall?
not patting the wall. It wasn't like that. Look. So
Scratch my CD.
He's trying to tell his origin
Oh,
story
my
here.
stars for the love
God,
of life.
they want to hear the story
Okay,
and then they
I'm done.
talk.
Sorry.
I'm done.
So anyhow, so I had this quasi agent at the time and still in the military, and she's like, "Listen, I don't think I can market Jeffrey Paul." And I was like, "Probably not." She's like, "But
Oh, you had two first names?
I had three."
Oh, God.
So my actual birth name was Jeffrey Andrew Paul. I kept Andrew because I'm named after my great grandfather that way, and you know he was a good dude. But without telling on some people, I wasn't real proud of the other two. And when I was in the military, I had a bunch of idiot, degenerate friends. We were all in the military together, and we were living at a double wide, and they were like, "We need redneck names." So we came up with, listen, there's a lot of things you can do in the military when you're drinking a lot. Coming up with stupid names is one of them. And so somehow I ended up with Skip Ransom. There was
I love it.
Speedy Ransom. There was like dumb stuff, right? And so I told that gal about that name, and she was like, "Oh, I can sell that." And so professionally, everybody knew me that way.
Hey, flip your mic to the other leg, just so you're looking at us and talking.
Oh,
to them.
sorry.
Yeah.
And so I just professionally ran with that, and then it's kind of how everybody just knew me, and then stuck. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to change it. It was easier than trying to explain that story every time I met somebody, and they were like, "What do you mean?" I don't know how that plays into I don't know. Like Shelby's always known me as Skip. She's never known me.
I've always known you as Skip, too.
But she's also knows that I had another name, right? It's not like I didn't change sexes. I just changed my name. You know what I mean? So it's I didn't
talk about the transition.
I didn't become another person, right? I just have a new moniker, I guess you could call it. But yeah, so that's how I ended up with a stripper name. Doug.
I love
Thanks.
it.
Appreciate that
Yeah,
question.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome. It's a hell of an announcer name, too. Hell
It's
of
a
an
lot
announcer
easier
name.
to say on the mic.
Jeffrey Paul, Andrew
Ransom.
Paul. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Is that three people or one? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Who are we
right.
talking to?
Right. So that's how it came to be.
Your history in rodeo, though, you weren't always in your head saying, "I'm going to be an announcer." You actually started riding bulls.
No.
And were into rodeo as an athlete before you were an announcer and finding something else in the sport, which I think is really important because we do these schools all the time. And I'm not going to name names, but we've had guys show up and I've literally grabbed them and be like, "Hey, there's so much in rodeo you could do besides getting on bucking horses. Like, I can tell this isn't your jam. Like, let's learn how to do something different. Let's learn how to
Yeah.
run neck ropes. Let's learn how to open chute gates." There's so many positions you can fill. If you still want to be a part of the sport, you don't necessarily have to get on. Sorry, I know that's not your
No.
what happened with you, but it just kind of reminds me of that.
So
You're so bad.
I will. I will.
bad.
I will
I'm
tell you,
so glad you found
it out.
he's
Okay,
not
sorry.
all the way wrong. So, yeah, like didn't grow up in like a super big rodeo
It
family.
was on the East Coast, right?
No. I'm from Colorado.
Okay.
Like born and raised there, but lived on the East Coast for high school years. My dad was into oil and natural gas stuff, and so we just kind of went that way. But he always was into team roping and stuff. Never really rode like any rough stock, kind of. And so I just fell in love with riding bulls at a very young age, and I just was obsessed with it. Watched 8 seconds and was like, "That's what I'm doing
Dude,
forever."
Me too. Yeah.
And so that's all I wanted to do. That's all I ever wanted to do is wrestle and ride bulls. That's it. So you realize pretty quickly that there's levels to that game. And did okay in high school. Did okay outside of high school until I found more fun things to do than ride bulls. We'll say that. And so from there, I went down a path I shouldn't have, got in some trouble, made a decision to join the military. I needed an adult timeout. That's what I call it. So they sat me down for a few years and said, "Hey, guy, settle down." And I'm thankful that that happened, because without that, I would not be here. So getting hurt initially started the announcing thing. I got hurt in high school, the very last high school rodeo of the year of my senior year, or very first one, sorry. I broke my collarbone. Bull sunfished on me and fell on me. And I had to be at every one of those events because I was the student president. So you have to be there regardless if you're hurt or not. So they didn't want to pay an announcer. They were like, "Will you do it?" I was like, "Well, I mean, I like to talk, so sure, why not?" So I did it, and I found out that it's a pretty intoxicating feeling being able to keep and capture some people's attention for a little while. And yeah, I just developed it from there, I guess, and just I enjoy telling the stories of the guys and gals that are in the arena. I think that had I not done what I did at a younger age and I focused on bull riding, I would be at a different spot, right? But God does what he does, and he takes your life where he wants it to go. And if I had guys like you and could have been like, "Hey, you need to focus on this, you need to train here, you need to do that and do this," I would have been a different human being. But thank God that I'm not. So
How do you get into the announcing world? Like these other parts that are not competing in the sport, right? I think it seems like a hard thing to accomplish at times. Like, I don't know where to reach out. I don't know who to talk to. I want to do something different in the sport and help, but I don't know how to do that. So how did you start paving your path for getting in front of people? And I mean, you kind of got set up at the high school deal, but
not really. Like, I did that, right? And then I lived a whole terrible life for 5 years before I became a real adult, right? Yeah, like, to be quite frank with you, like, I was an addict, right? Mm-hmm. And like, I was ruining my life. Yeah. Couldn't ride a bull. I couldn't ride a gate on a windy day. Like, I was, and having to step away from rodeo for so long and then try to come back, and in my mind, I was still a bull rider. In my ability, I was a round ass gunsel. Like, could not ride a bull, right? And so I was pretty defeated. But picking up a microphone, right? Shelby can tell you, like, I was in a pretty dark place for a little while about like, what is my identity? Like, if I'm not a bull rider, what am I, right? Who am I? What do I do here? I'm just going to be like some ranch hand forever. And, so I'm working at Tractor Supply. I send about 100 and some emails to every rodeo committee I could find. And I was like, this is what I'll do. This is what I charge. This is what I can help you with, whatever. The MBR, Mini Bull Riders Association, got back to me. And they were like, "Hey, can you come to Louisiana at Chris Shivers' house and do an event?" And I was like, "For real? You want me to come to Chris Shivers' house, like my idol, and talk?" "Yeah, I'll be there." So this is a ridiculous story. But I was stacking cat food at Tractor Supply. Okay. I quit my job that day. I walked in the manager's office. I was like, "Hey, man, I'm done here. Like, I can't do this anymore." And he's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I'm going to go announce rodeos. That's what I'm doing." Okay. I go home and tell Shelby, "Hey, I quit my job today." And she's like, "What? What do you mean?" I'm like, "Listen, we're going to Chris Shivers' house. We're going to go announce this little mini bull riding deal." And she goes, "Okay, and then what?" And I'm not real good at thinking past like 10 minutes in my life. So I didn't have an answer for her as far as like what next, right? And by the grace of God, awesome. Yeah, like by the grace of God, like he always provides, always takes care of us. He never lets me starve to death or be homeless or die. But there were some moments when we went to Florida for $800.
Oh yeah. And
when I say we went there for $800, we had to go there to get it because we didn't have it at home. And when on the way back, we damn sure didn't have it. So, there were times I'm sure that she questioned me.
Yep.
That she questioned my ability, right? Like, there is no way to get into rodeo announcing or judging or I don't know, whatever it might be. Like I know that Logan, you do some stuff with high-low, and so they're like back pin stuff, and there is no really way to do it. There is a hierarchy, I'd say, right? So like if you're in the back pin, a lot of times you don't get treated very well. Those guys are looked at like plebes, you know. When you're in the announcer stand, though, you literally are the event. Like everything you say, everything that you describe, you're setting the tone, you're setting the mood, you're making that event what it is. And so it's incredibly difficult to go from pulling gates to the announcer stand. And it's not a very welcoming place. No one wants you to be there, especially if you're okay at it, right? When I do things now, I'm obsessed and I do them to be here. I don't want to just exist here and do it. I want to be Matt West. I want to be, you know what I mean? Like I want to be that level. The very first TV deal I ever did was with Scott Grover on Ride Pass for a Mini Bull Riders. And when I showed up, they were like, "Who are you?" And I go, "What do you mean who am I? I'm announcing the event." And they were like, No, we got Scott. And I was like, "Okay, that's fine, but I'm going to also talk." And so I forget the guy's name, but he was like, "Look, if you're not good on TV, we're taking you down. Like we're taking you off TV. Like you're not going to do it anymore." And I was like, "All right, bet. It's a job interview." And he just looked at me like, "You cocky little son of a bitch." Like he was like, "All right." So anyway, we do it. It went really well. Scott was great. He was super helpful. He was very nice to me. He was very like, "Yeah, you can do this." And so gave me his card and he was like, "If you need anything, call." And from that day, Scott has been a mentor. He's been, you know, that's rare to find. He's a rare guy. He's a good one. But to get into it, man, like nowadays, I'm sure you guys have experienced this as well, but like nowadays, everybody thinks they can do it. Social media has made it so easy for people to be like, well, if he's doing it, I can do it. And I don't want to discourage anybody. I don't want to tell you that it's incredibly difficult to do it and you shouldn't even try. But I will say this, like, take a lot more heed to what God wants you to do and not what you think you should be doing. I have a gift. I know that I've been given a gift, and I really want throughout my life in announcing to be able to spread the message of Christ. I don't announce rodeos because it pays really good. You can tell it doesn't pay great, right? There's some times where you're like, the month's longer than the money, right? But
that $800 trip to Florida,
right? But I love it. You know what I mean? I love it. And so I think if you love something and you've been given a gift, God will provide for you, and He will take you to where you're going to be successful. I've been fortunate enough to know you and to know Logan and to know Paul, and you know, watching you guys operate at a high level is motivating for me. I think when you surround yourself with guys that are like, let's go here, it helps. I think that I'm one of the best on a microphone. I don't say that in a arrogant way. I say that in a way that's like confident in my ability. Lucia is great on a microphone. Corey Keith is great on a microphone. Justin McKee, great on a microphone. Wayne Brooks, Corley, all of them are great on a microphone. Gary Yergin. I want to be that great. And so I don't know how you get into it. I would say if you want to do it and you think that you got the salt to do it, buy powered speakers, buy a microphone, buy a board, find a girl to run sound for you that you like to kiss on and go on. But it's difficult. The entry is hard, and for me, it's easier. I don't know how to explain it other than that. Like,
well, you just got to do it. You talked about Scott and him being a mentor, someone you looked up to, and all these guys, Lucia, Corey, Justin McKee. There's not a ton, but there are these select elite announcers, right? People that you admire and look up to. How do you mold yourself? You're looking up to them, right? But how do you make it your own? Because to me, not every rodeo announcer sounds the same, but a lot of times you're like, man, you guys could be the same person. You're saying the same things. You're saying the same. You speak in the same tone, like all of it. They're mimicking somebody. But the really, really great announcers that are the ones that can do that, but it's their own.
Right. Matt West actually is the one that told me, he was like, look, do not do anything different. We already have a Bob Tallman. We don't need another one.
Mm-hmm.
We already have, these guys. We don't need another one. We need you. So be you. And if you is good enough, you will get there. Right. I look up to those guys, but I also study what they're doing. Right. Like Scott Grover and Steve Kenyon, in my opinion, know so much about rodeo athletes and so much about stock that it's really easy for them to talk on a microphone. Like when you know about something, it's easy to talk about it. That's it. I mean, if you don't know what you're talking about, it's really hard.
But to know, like, you have to do so much research. Every
Yeah.
perf, every contestant,
Yes.
every animal they're getting on their roping, all of it. How much work goes into the prep of?
Man, it's like 30 hours, 40 hours a week.
I was gonna say, like, you know, these guys know what they're
Yeah,
talking about,
yeah.
but they didn't really know. They know the sport, but they did their research.
Right.
They understood what they're doing.
What's like the process? Like, what's the
So-
step by step?
Yeah, how's
So
that work?
here's how it works at the PRCA level, and then I'll tell you how it works at my level. Right? You can buy a packet from the PRCA with every contestant and their bio and how much money they have and who they've drawn and who they, what they've won or whatever, and
How
they
do-
give it to you.
How do you buy it?
As an announcer, it's like $25.
So you just call the office.
yeah.
and-
I don't know. I if I had my
I didn't even know
PRCA
that was
card,
a thing.
I probably would know
Well,
better.
I didn't even know that was a thing. So I was
Yeah, so
curious.
so like you can buy like those big rodeos, they're like 5, 6, 10 days long, whatever. That is a lot easier to do, keep track of, than to do your own research. Not that those guys don't do their own research, and they have memory bank that they understand too, but you can buy those things. At the amateur level, at the lower levels, it's a lot of Facebook creeping. It's a lot like you have to go find the information because nobody's recording it. There's not like a bank of info, and amateur rodeo sites are terrible at updating standings, right? Mostly because it's probably somebody's wife who has a job and kids and a life who's like, I can't just up every day.
Yeah.
So I go on Facebook or Instagram or I Google their name, right? Or I look up results from rodeos I know they've been to. And then I make just like a note card, basically. I type it all out and have their info. And fortunately for me, when you stay in an area like a region or a circuit, it's kind of easy to remember certain people, right? There's cream rises to the top. So there's obviously guys that I know more about or girls I know more about. But there's also new guys that come in and I'm like, who are you? You were just 80 points last week. Like, who are you? Right. And then I have to go dig for them. But if you're not willing to do that, you sound like an idiot on a microphone. Right. Like I tell people all the time, bull riders take forever in the buck and shoot when they're scared. Right. Bareback riders take forever in the buck and shoot when they're scared. I can only lie about you for so long.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I can't keep making things up about you. The crowd doesn't know that you're not a 17-time PBR Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
But I can't say that 5 times. They're going to catch on. Like somebody's going to Google you. They'll be like, hey, guy, he's a bareback rider. You know what I mean? So you have to know what you're talking about. You have to have some knowledge. And then you also have to be able, in those moments when guys are taking a long time and you don't have a lot of info on them, you have to be able to talk about where you are, like the town, history of the area. So like a lot of times I'm looking up how big is the town? What's the population? What are they famous for, if anything? You know, what is the area? So I also have things like that to talk about as well. A lot of these rodeos that we do are like history, right? So they've been around 100 years or whatever. Being able to talk about how that lineage has come up and how many generations of people have been to that rodeo and how long they've been carrying this tradition on, because that's really what cowboys are, is like we are bearers of tradition. We bring history with us and everybody wants to be a cowboy. I think the Yellowstone effect is real. And I thank God for it, because if we didn't have a bunch of people running around with straw hats in the wintertime and
on backwards,
you know what I mean? Yeah, like we wouldn't have an industry. And so that probably fuels a lot of what I do, because I'm like, all right, if we're going to give these people a show, let's educate them as well.
Yeah.
I don't want them to just come here and be entertained. I want them to leave here and be like, I know some things about steer wrestling, right? Or I know why that barrier works the way it does, or I know why the team roping, they can't crossfire. Like there's so many things you can talk about and learn about and know about, but it's a job. It's a full-time job.
Something I noticed, and I'm not talking shit on anybody, but these a lot of time the older generation of announcer is very good, and to the common ear they're not going to hear any difference, but to me and us, I think when we sit there and listen to them, it is so much just gibberish that they're just talking. There's no real meaning to it. And a lot of times when we listen to you announce, it might be gibberish, but there's, like you're saying, there's actual meaning behind what you're saying. You're not just talking to talk. You're talking to either pump the guy up, elevate him, elevate the crowd, elevate the community,
Well,
all of it. Like, how
He's
does
still
that?
talking to talk sometimes.
Oh yeah,
Let's be
but that's
real.
understandable.
listen, Logan and I got in a talking contest.
It
We
would be
could talk
close.
the ears off
It
a
would be
rock,
close.
dude.
Yeah.
The two of us together, when we start talking, I think we're just looking at each other and our mouths are moving. I don't even hear what you know what I mean? Like, I have no idea. But which is good because there's been times when I've called Logan or he's called me and I'm like, he's calling me because I didn't do a workout. But he's really just calling the bullshit and see how I'm doing and check on me. And so, I love him for that. But look, I really try to be entertaining on a microphone. I don't want to sound like anybody else. I don't want to do what everybody else is doing. The older generation of guys, I think this ripples through all of rodeo. We've done it that way. Let's keep doing it that way. And they don't like a guy who's kind of funny or smart ass, right? Or like, look, I'll tell you something. I got a little trouble for this, but it was funny. This barrel racer at an amateur rodeo, big amateur rodeo, she missed first barrel. Her horse just see ya, right? Well, when she got to the end of the arena, she turned around and come right back, same speed, like keyhole, When she got to the end, she fell off. Okay, she was okay. I made sure before I said what I said, but I was like, "Hey, next time, stay on that sucker, huh, buddy?" The rodeo committee was like, "Yo, don't do that, right?
Can't do that.
Then another time, a bull rider was in the buck and shoot, taking forever. And sometimes at some of these bigger, like tourist town rodeos, I announce the bull riding from the arena floor. I get in there and walk around like the guys in Brazil. I'm not that crazy, but I do it from the floor, right? Well, this kid was like white knuckling the buck and shoot. And I'm like, okay, I don't know who you are. I have no idea how old you are, like what your deal is. So I've told him everything I know. The bull you're getting on and your name. And I'm waiting for him to nod his head, and this bull's standing there just looking out the gate, like, all right.
Hey, let's go.
Yeah, like, this bull's name is Midnight. He's been around forever. He's just the honest dude, one jump around the left every time. He's mean, but he's the same every time. So I talk about him going to the finals. I do all this stuff. He's still hanging on to this buck and shoot. So I put the microphone down, right, and I walked over there. And I didn't know this at the time, but he was some lineage to the damn committee members that were there. So I walk over there, and I grabbed his arm off the buck and shoot. I peeled his fingers off there. You said I could say bad words?
Yeah.
I said, if you don't nod your fucking head right now, I'm opening this gate. Well, his dad happened to be a board member.
Course.
On the buck and shoot, he looks at me, he goes, no, you won't. I said, trip that latch. And they did. And he got
Absolutely hammered.
chili whopped, I guess is the best way to say it.
That's going to happen regardless.
He didn't get hurt, but he got piled up. And so after the rodeo, his dad comes up and he's like, hey, I don't really appreciate that. I said, listen, we have 2 hours to do this show. If he's not going to do it, don't bring him here. Mm-hmm. And that leads me to my point about, like, as a rodeo announcer, it's easy to do your job at a pro level.
Yes.
Everybody knows what they're doing.
I was just going to say that.
Everybody's quick. There's a time limit. Boom, 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 boom. Right? We do it every night in here for 10 days. It's a 2-hour performance start to finish. Okay? 2 hours and 27 minutes, I think is what they run it in. But I know in between each event, I have 66 seconds to talk, do whatever. I know between calf rope and barrels, it's 90 seconds, right? At an amateur rodeo,
who knows?
You have no idea.
I think that's so important because those amateur guys are going to be at a pro, hopefully will be at a pro level sooner than later. And if that standard is not held across the board, they're going to be in for a rude awakening when they get here because they're just going to get turned out. The judge is going to throw the flag and say, nope, yeah, well, thanks for the entry fee money.
Man, I could probably go on about a mile rant about
anything.
Yes. Mostly about the fact that guys don't take it serious. Girls don't take it serious, right? Mm-hmm. The amateur level at rodeo is bigger than any other like sub community of anything, right? Yep. There's a million of them, okay? We don't have athletes at the amateur level. What we have is a bunch of, I think I know it. My dad did this. My uncle was here. My whatever. I'm getting information from all over the place. So many guys show up to get on bulls or bucking horses. So many guys show up to rope. So many gals show up to run barrels. And, like, you should not be there if you're not willing to take it seriously, right? I get that you have a horse and you want to run barrels and that's fun for you. Great. There's jackpots for that, right? Having a professional mindset and amateur level is the key, right? You guys see amateurs all the time, okay? And I always know when a guy has worked with you because behind the buck and shoots, they're the only one with a band and they're out there doing their deal. You know, I'm like, oh, all right, he's a champion limit guy. Or, you know, you see guys that are just mentally, they're different. I wish that amateur rodeos committees would have you guys and be like, listen, we want to be 2 hours done. We can only do that if we have professional minded athletes. Like I'm always interested. I have so many questions about like how you guys go about getting these athletes to be Josh Frost, right? I told Logan when we started working out together, I was like, look, I'm never getting on another bull again, but I want to feel like I could go strap one right now. And he has done that. Like to my detriment of time or whatever, he has always made a plan for me to work. He's always fitted in. I've always had an opportunity to get better. Whether I've done that or not, that's on me, right? And he's held me accountable, and he's not nice about it sometimes. Sometimes he tells me what I need to hear, like, hey, guy, you're paying me, so let's do it. But there's a lot of guys that pay you that don't do it. And then you guys have decisions to make. You're like, okay, do I keep taking the revenue, or do I tell this guy, like, look, I did something else. Like, this isn't for you. You're not putting in the work, right? I don't know how frustrating it is for you, but when I see a guy fail and they don't have to, I want to throw them. You know what I mean? Like, I get so mad. Paul and I rode bulls. You guys rode broncs, bareback horses. It's not much different in the way of, like, you have to be mentally prepared to dominate that animal for 8 to 10 seconds. How do you do that if you're, I don't know what you're doing during the week. You're not working out. You're not.
You end up being scared. You're not confident.
Yeah.
You know, the working out is so much more than just the actual physical gains that you're going to get from it. It's all between the ears. You showed up, you know, you put in that work. Nothing's going to deter you from that goal that you're going to get on. But when you're not putting in the work, you can be deterred very easily.
Well, expecting to win is a lot harder when you don't think that you can.
Yeah.
1,000%. And also, expecting to win doing the same thing over and over again is just crazy. Right? And that's what we see is guys keep saying, you just need more reps. You need to get on more. You need to get on more. Well, if you've been getting on a lot, what else are you not doing? You know, that is the full puzzle.
If something's not coming together, right, you're missing something. It's not like, I won't say names, but yesterday we watched an event where it was glaringly obvious who was doing the right things and who was doing what they thought they should be doing. When you're doing the right stuff, you can slow things down. You can make things what
you're talking about the bullfights.
Yes.
Okay.
What you want?
I was like, we watched many events yesterday, so
what they like, but you can make it. I mean, you can make an event what you need it to be, right? Like Josh was talking about on those 20-point bulls. I can slow things down now, right? I can ride, see what I'm doing wrong at the same time on a 20-point bull. There's a lot of guys that get on a 20-point bull, dude, and they think they got on bushwhacker. You know, and a lot of guys, for them, that experience is very real. You know, there's a lot of guys that I tell everybody, you're not going to remember the first 100 bulls or horses that you get on. It's a blackout. You don't remember anything you got taught, nothing. Like Logan coached college kids. I'm sure he was the most frustrated human being for a long time because
no idea.
No, like I heard you talking the other day, and I was like, man, I don't know how you guys deal with people, right? Who obviously need help, obviously want to get better, but don't finish. Like mentally, how do you not mentally, but how do you guys take an athlete who's like, all right, we're going to foster this dude or this lady and get them to the next level? Not just physically, but
they have to have it. They have to have it indwelling, at least the desire to be better. Then we can help them, right? But we work with a lot of athletes, and all of them love the idea of leveling up. But then we know through everything you do, whether it's announcing, riding bucking horses, bulls, it's about the work that you put in. And so everybody's in love with the idea. But then the actual, we can give them the tools, and that's what we do. We give them the tools, not only physically, but we can help with mindset and some of those things. if they don't take action on those things, they'll never get better. And so they have to have at least the desire and the willpower to work first.
Well, and they act like you're crazy when you tell them.
Oh, yeah.
Well, no, it's an ego check.
You're like, what are you?
Yeah, that's what you're doing with them is you're having to check their ego regularly because you're calling them out on not doing their shit, and no one likes to hear that, and everyone wants to sign up for something and pay for it, and think that's gonna that's it. I'm gonna be better automatically, and they don't want to put the work in because the culture that the entire universe is in right now, our world, is instant gratification.
There's a pill for that.
Yeah.
There's an
Well,
Ozempic for that.
and
There's
some
a,
of them,
you know,
some of them, to circle back to the amateur rodeo thing, some of them are not there to get better,
Yeah.
right? They're simply there to attract a girl. They're simply there to, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah.
Oh, no,
that's why they're
100%.
there. There's no barrier to entry at the amateur level. It's $80 or $100. You
Yeah.
can show up a lot
Here
of
you
places.
go.
You don't have to have a card.
Right.
I can enter the hometown rodeo, but like I just like you, I go to quite a few amateur rodeos in the summertime, and then filtering through those young guys that just don't know better yet, right?
And they
But
don't
they
care.
actually have some ability, and then you can like, hey, I refer them. I bet I referred a dozen guys to the Frost Legacy online school.
yeah.
Hey, if you don't look at this, you're foolish because you've got some ability, and I can see that you would like to do this, but you just don't know any different than to work out or to because everybody they're around at that level is doing the same thing.
Well, then, like, Jose has this Leme has a famous video of him riding a medicine ball,
Yeah.
like in a circle, right? JB stood on a basketball, and I think it got like 10 billion views, right?
Well, he smoked a cigarette at the same time. so
Right,
that's
bingo.
why.
But people,
Talent, baby.
but people think that like, oh, if I do that, right?
Yep.
I'll
Yep.
be there.
Yep.
What they
Yep.
don't see is that Leme gets on probably 10 or 12 bulls a week.
Yeah.
That
So
are
did
also,
JB.
Yeah,
JB
so
got on
did-
10 or 12 bulls a
Right.
day sometimes.
Right.
Like,
But look
That's
at the
that's
two
the
of
part
them.
that they don't
they
want to
don't
put
see
in.
that
yeah.
part.
You know what
they
I'm
see
saying?
him
Yeah.
smoking
Yeah.
cigs and standing on ball. Like, oh, that's how we got to be good.
Right.
No,
I'm
you
a cowboy.
dumbass.
You
No,
know what I mean?
no.
You know what I mean?
He
Yeah.
worked his ass off at the
Yeah.
thing.
So it I don't know. It frustrates me to no end when I'm like, look, I could have been, but I'm not. You guys have an opportunity to be. And there's guys like you guys out there now who are changing. I say it all the time, and I'm not just fluffing you guys up. I don't like you that much. You guys do a great job, and you do something completely different. And like, I believe in it, right? And I wish more people would see the value of like, I could be at the NFR if I do X, Y, and Z, not just one or the other, right? It's really evident in guys that are athletes first, right? Outside of rodeo, they wrestle, play football, whatever. And then they come into rodeo and they excel like
Oh, man.
way quicker than everybody
Yeah,
else.
we see it all the time.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. we
So
see-
it's
Cade Saunier is the perfect
Yeah,
example.
he's the
The
poster
kid
child.
was a
who's that?
Cade Saunier.
Oh, the bareback rider.
Yeah, bareback rider, was at the NFR last year, had an injury this year, didn't make it just because he was injured. We got to have him at the school this November. He came out and helped us. And first of all, like, big shout out to him. He cares so much about the sport, like we all do. But everyone that we invite, it's always like a 50-50 in my head. Like, are they going to be what I need them to be for these kids, right?
Right.
And that guy gets it. But
Mhm.
he was a collegiate baseball player. High. He probably could have gone to the pros if he kept working at it. His dad, world champion, was he world title?
He made the NFR at like in the saddle bronc riding at like 40 or something crazy.
Yeah, like insane.
Yeah.
But incredibly talented bronc rider. And Kate just said one day, like, I think I want to go to the rodeo side of things. And he quit baseball, picked up bareback riding, and he was not good when he started, but his athletic ability over 2 years of consistently working, the dude's at the finals.
Because he understood the process.
He understands how to be an
and
athlete in the work.
That's
yes.
exactly right. That's where it is. He understood the work ethic that it takes to get better because of all of his years of playing baseball at a
Right.
high level.
There's
You know,
a structure system
that's
how to
exactly
get to
right.
this.
He just
Yeah.
applied those principles to
Yeah.
bareback riding, and he learned the correct fundamentals the right way. And then he had a dad who made the NFR as a mentor. Unlike, let's go here, let's not go there.
Yeah.
And it's literally fast forward on your rodeo career if you know the processes in becoming an elite athlete in any sport.
Like what I think is so good about what you guys do is like you don't just do the bareback riding, bronc riding, bull riding school, right? Guys show up to your school, and when they leave there, they know how to get to a rodeo. They know how to enter it. They know how to get paid. They know how to balance that checkbook. They know how to get to the next one, and they know how to not screw themselves up on the road.
Mm.
That does not exist at the high school level right now. I promise you, no high school rodeo association in the country is saying, "Hey, we need to get champion living in here. We need to put a school on. We need these kids to understand that they're going to leave home in 3 months and be adults.
Yeah.
Right? There's 18-year-old kids at pro rodeo that have zero idea how to do anything without mom tacking their horse up, or without dad putting splint boots on, or making sure the barrier's pulled right. Or,
It's
you know
amazing to me how many parents enter their 18-year-olds at pro rodeos.
my
They're
Lord.
entering them to make circuit finals and stuff. The kids have no idea where they're going or what they're doing.
They shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
You know, they're
Isn't that
not
what
ready.
the rights do?
Well, yes, but that's also like, I'm going to say
It's like a family
if
business
my
at
dad
this
was
point.
like, legendary, I would probably let him do the entering.
Dude, I don't know. I think I would tell Dad to fuck off. I'll do this myself.
Oh
kidding.
no.
Oh man, it when they come to our school, we want to make them better rodeo athletes, but we want to make them better humans.
People.
At the end, I don't care if they rodeo or not. What they
Right.
learn at that school, they're going to be able to take to everyday life, and that's all of us are almost the reverse of that. Is I realized how much I had learned from rodeo when I got into regular day life, and how much it helped me get through the adversity challenges that come up. Because when you're rodeoing, every day's different. The arena's different. The horse is different. You get a flat, like everything can be different.
There's a
So
bunch
you-
of variables.
Yes,
there
you have to be able to adapt and just brush it off and let it affect you. And that is a really good skill for everyday life, whether you own a business, whether it's relationships, whatever.
Well, like being a rodeo announcer it's the most fun you can have, in my opinion, at a rodeo. It's the most fun thing you can do. I get paid whether they all ride bulls or not. I leave there the same as I came in, healthy, happy. I get on the road, I drive to the next one. So seeing guys go down the road struggling and not listening to you and being like, well, I'm just going to do this because that's what they've done and that's what they've been telling me, is like, man, there's an option out there for you guys that you're not looking at. There's guys out there that want to help you. Like I went to that OPA you guys did in Colorado Springs or Pueblo, and what a treat that was to have Chase at the NFR this year, by the way, and Andrew Alvidrez, who dominates.
He's like third or fourth in the PBR standings.
Yeah,
right
like
now,
he
too.
he
He's
dominates.
Kicking ass.
Now, I will say this. There's levels, right? Andrew operates at a crazy level. That guy, like, he's a lot. I've worked out with him a couple times. I'm like, bro, you're going to kill me. But my point is, like, they're doing it right now. And so you bring guys in that are doing it right now at the highest level. Not did it in 1970, not did it in 1980, not 1990, right now. And if that doesn't bring value to your career as a rodeo athlete, I don't think you should be in the arena. But being able to be like, all right, I know a guy, I'll send you to him. Call Doug, call Paul, call Logan, and then go get better, and then come back next year. And telling a guy to wait when they don't want to wait because they want to hear their name called. They want to tip their hat and put their shaps on. And like a new pair of shaps ain't going to fix your riding percentage, guy.
Yeah.
Like a new bull rope ain't going to fix your riding percentage. A new girlfriend with a flat ass ain't going to fix your riding percentage. What you need to go get in the gym. You start eating correctly, not eating more, eating correctly. Like when Logan tells me what to eat, I'm like, bro, I don't want to eat that. He's like, I know, but you're gonna, because those donuts, guy, aren't working out for you. You know what I mean? Like cakes and pies. That's my life. I love them. My wife makes bread. She makes cookies. Like I have a constant
Some
supply.
sourdough cookies right there. I'm telling you.
They're magic, aren't
Sure
they?
what ails you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now I'm up to a 32 jean size, Shelby. Thanks. But, like having that in my corner, and I'm not even getting on rodeo animals anymore, is like he doesn't have to care about me the same way he cares about a guy getting on right now.
Well, he doesn't.
He cares more, I hope. You know what I mean? But like there's the way I'm gonna take that. I'm putting that in my head. I'm gonna remember that forever. Logan doesn't care about me at all. But it does. Like if he's doing it for me, and you guys are doing it for guys like me, I can't imagine the benefits I would see if I was still riding bulls. So
I
I'm
love to
thankful for
hear
you.
about how much you're not doing it to be a better athlete. You'd be doing it to be a better human and to be more confident in just daily life.
Yeah.
And that's missed, I think, when we look at this, especially from young guys or girls or athletes. They think about it as a one-way street to get to the goal.
Yep.
Right. And you're creating so much more than just your goals. You're creating good habits. You're creating discipline, and the world is short on discipline. These like in today's world, I feel like
I grew up wrestling, and wrestling, in my opinion, like there's only one sport that can teach you how to get knocked on your head and have to get back up and continue on and try to win. And that like kill or be killed mentality, I still have that right now. But like I want to be a dad and I want to be able to run with my kids. I have plenty of injuries all over my body. And I went to the doctor the other day and he was like, "You're supposed to be worse." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not. So what are we doing?" He's like, "Whoever is working with you is a magician. Like you should not be able to do what you're doing at the level that you're doing it right now." And so I'm trying to be healthy. I'm trying to live to be, old as I can possibly get to. And I like to hunt elk. You can't hunt elk fat and out of shape. I mean, you can, but guess what? You're going to hunt all the other elk that everybody else is hunting.
Yeah.
You don't get to hunt the cool elk back there. You know what I mean? You don't get to go find those majestic one of a lifetime bulls. You have to walk and walk and walk. I took Shelby hunting one time because Doug left me hanging.
I did.
He didn't leave me hanging. He got hemmed up. Some things happened. He had to move out to a different area and it just didn't work. But I took Shelby. Went and bought her camo. She smelled like Sportsman's Warehouse. All right. We get up there. And she goes, "Am I going to be cold?" And I was like, "No. We bought you layers.
Very warm.
I need you to wear this and put that in your bag." And she's like, "I don't know." And I'm like, "Okay, wear it. I don't care." She puts it on. We got 20 yards into the woods and she goes, "I'm hot." Yeah. And I go,
"I'm sweating. Yeah, this is not good."
I said, "What did I tell you?" She's like, "I didn't think I'd get that warm." I was like, we were walking miles at elevation uphill, and then the next morning we're sitting, waiting. And she's like, "I'm freezing to death." And I was like, "Layers, honey. We bought layers. Remember, you put them on when you're cold, take them off when you're hot." She's like, "How am I supposed to know?" I was like, "You listen to me." And she's like,
"Nah, it's not going to work."
Nope.
Yeah, no. Nah.
So she's sitting in a sleeping bag behind a pine tree.
Had a girl.
Facing the other direction. Yeah, froze to death. as a shooter bull walks behind me, and I'm like, "Shelby, don't move." And she goes, "Why?" And I was like, "Okay, well, there goes that dinner. I guess we'll catch him on the next one." But to be healthy for a long time is very important to me. Having that discipline, as when you get out of a structured environment, when you're not on a wrestling team, it's a lot harder to be disciplined. And so to have accountability guys that are like, "Hey, you're getting fat, fix that." It's easier. You guys make it easier to live a healthier life. Like you can't just Ozempic your way into health. You can't.
Yeah, you can't. You're right.
Look,
I love that.
I'm going to say something that's probably going to upset a lot of people. So
that's standard. Let's go.
Have a good time in the comments. But if you're fat, okay, you need to be told that you're fat.
Yeah.
This whole idea of like, "I'm beautiful." Look, God made you in his image and likeness, and you are beautiful in here, honey. But outside, you're killing yourself because you're 300 pounds and your legs can't support that. Your vascular system, your heart, your pulmonary system is not built for that. When people say they're big boned, I'm like, what? That's not a bone. That's squishy. So I think if more people were like, "Oh, I have a problem. I'm fat. I need to fix that." Instead of being like, "Love your body the way it is." Sure. They make triple X coffins too. Yeah. So it like you're killing yourself because you don't want to put the work in because you don't want to feel bad about yourself because you actually do feel bad about yourself and you don't want to have that like on the forefront of your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People don't want they don't want their shit out there.
No.
And when you tell somebody you're not healthy, they're like, "I love my body." I'm like, okay.
Then why don't you do something for it?
Do you love your kids? Like
it's like you got to cross over into you got to get over the mental hurdle first.
Yeah.
Because once you cross the mental hurdle and you start the physical activity, you automatically you start feeling better right away.
Right.
And so like once you can cling to that feeling, like you get past the mental hurdle, we start into the physical work. Your body thanks you for putting in physical work.
Yeah.
You feel good. You get the endorphin release. And then you can cling to that feeling and you can seek that and look for that every day.
Like how many times do you guys meet somebody who's depressed? And at the same time they're depressed, they're out of shape.
Yeah.
Like when I I don't suffer from anxiety, but I do hang out with it every once in a while.
Same.
I have probably undiagnosed ADHD or whatever at some level. Shelby hates it. If you look at our bedroom, my side of the room is wild. Her side is very put together and nice and neat. But I know where everything is, right? My brain, I've found, like, instead of scrolling on TikTok or whatever to try to like focus, if I go on a walk or I do 10 air squats or I do a push up or 20 or whatever, like I just shoot my bow, physical activity cleans my brain up. It just gives me an opportunity to be like, okay, everything's okay. You're not going to die. The world's not going to kill you. You're going to be, you're fine. But a lot of people don't do that. They get a pill and they take a pill and it suppresses their chemicals in their brain. And then over time, they like, I can't, I'm old now. I can't work out. Like, what the heck are you talking about?
We're hardwired to look for shortcuts, and it doesn't matter. It sums up like our whole conversation. It doesn't matter if it's announcing, if it's riding bulls, if it's lifestyle. We always want the magic pill. We want the fix. And what I've found, like, to circle back to announcing, is you can tell when somebody's had the reps. There is no shortcuts. You're not going to like see a cool announcer on TikTok or whatever and be like, oh, that's what I want to do, and just start posting videos of yourself on TikTok. And the next thing you know, you're at a big show. If
Right.
you do, you won't get very many more big shows because you can't skip the reps. And it's all the little things in between shows and the homework. And man, that it really shows when you listen to guys of your caliber. You're like, this guy he's paid his dues. He's done his due process.
I appreciate you saying that. And I'll say this, like, sometimes the event isn't awesome. Sometimes it's not glorious. Sometimes it's not what you want to do. I love what they did for me, but I did not want to announce team paintings. They're 12-hour days. You start at 8, you end at 8. Sometimes you start at 8, you end at midnight or 2 a.m. And you're on a mic the entire time. So it's like you call a team on deck, team in the hole, cattle number, sponsors, over and over for hours. So in a 48-hour time period, right? If you think about a rodeo being 2 hours, I've announced 24 performances. Like I've done a month of rodeo, right?
Yep.
Those reps behind a mic, learning the cadence of how to keep an event, like when to go up, when to go down, when to build emotion, when to not, when to understand that the drama needs to be injected here, like learning how to dance. That taught me. And I was fortunate enough to do their world finals twice. I've been fortunate enough in a short time. Announcing is a lot like being a senator, I feel like. Once you get there, you just die there when you're ready. You just stay forever. There is no turnover. There is no, nobody's like, hey, man, you've been here for 800 years. You need to retire. There's cows you should go feed at home, right? It's the same guys all the time, and they do the same thing every time. And that's fine, But also, fun fact, there's 131 announcers that have PRCA cards. 90 of them didn't have one perf last year.
That's insane.
So you look at that number, and then you neck it down to the guys that actually had one perf.
That's actually infuriating.
To
hear that.
Makes me crazy. Like,
that's insane.
I'll say this. I don't have my PRCA card. Okay. They say that every night. And I don't say anything because it's not the time or place, right? But after listening to this podcast, and Doug, you're one of my best friends, and Logan and Paul, like, you guys all know me, right? When you know you should be at a level and there's guys that shouldn't be that are, it's really hard to not cuss the judge in a sense, right? It's really hard to be like, okay, what am I doing wrong, right? So, yes, it is reps. Yes, you have to understand the cadence of the event. You have to understand how to move that crowd. Anthony Lucia does a great job. He's probably one of my favorite announcers to watch work a crowd. His voice is beautiful, but the way that he starts and finishes, a lot of times he dictates that guy's score. You know what I mean? He can be talking about anybody. Brody Wells, right? He can make that guy sound just as good, just as cool as Ryder Wright. And I think that's important too. You got to watch those guys like do their job and understand like, oh, there's a way to do this. Just like stand-up comedy. People think, well, I'm funny in a room of people. I could go stand on stage and do it. It's like, buddy, anybody can talk. You know what I mean? And then when they talk to me outside the mic, they're like, oh, you sound the same. I'm like, I'm not trying to sound any different. Like, I don't want to sound like Bob Dome. I don't want to sound like Roger Mooney. There's a lot of guys out there that sound like him that have never done the reps to do the job, but they sound like Roger Mooney because they force themselves to sound that way. And then they get hired, and you're like, dude, that's not you. Be authentic, right? So that part of it, like, I mean, that's a burr under my saddle. Like, I could go on and I get told all the time, Skip, shut up, because I want to say some things, right? But I don't have the golden ticket to say the thing I want to say, because if I say what I'm going to say, they're not going to give me that golden ticket. So it's like,
buddy, I'm in the same boat.
Do you know what I mean? It's like this revolving door of like, guys, everybody, and I'm not, it sounds so arrogant and cocky to say, but like, look, I've been told quite a few times, you'll let me announce at the highest level here, but you won't let me announce the lowest level here. I don't understand the dynamic there. And it's like, you get evaluated and it's supposed to be whatever. Like, okay. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, they want control.
One weekend, we announced a rodeo, and it was absolute dog shit. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. I spent the night before throwing up. All my help was drinking on the back of the truck, not loading. I was loading mutton busting sheep before the perf, and all my help was drinking on the back of the truck. My flag girls didn't come in the arena when the bombs went off. The music got dead because that happened. Then my clown's axe didn't work, and I was like, dude, just get the hell out of my arena. Like, you're killing me, right? I'm frustrated. They didn't ride a bull. They bucked off all the broncs. They didn't rope a calf. They didn't get a steer in the team rope. Like, it was a mess. The very next weekend, I'm horseback, sold out crowd. They ride 6 out of 10 bulls. We're 83 in the bronc riding. Beautiful rodeo. Which one do you think they came to evaluate?
The first one.
So my point is like kind of what Ransom said the other day. Like, if you don't do good at the NFR, you don't get to come back. And I think they pick 1 out of 5 rodeos to come evaluate a guy, when I think you should go to all 5.
At least.
Yeah.
If you're not, you can't go to one perf and say, that's him.
Yeah, no way.
There's no way.
Yeah.
The first time they denied my card, I was on the Cowboy Channel filling in for Corey Keith at the regional finals, basically, for college rodeo in Laramie with Sutton or Summit Pro Rodeo. So it's like, you guys will let me do that event. I'll knock it out of the park. And then you say, I don't know enough about the contestants. Roger that. Got it. So then I do all this homework and I start studying. I get crazy addicted to, like, I know everything about them, right? I know their bowel movements a day. I'm like, all right, got it. And then you tell me, sorry, your clown wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What's that have to do with me?
Nothing.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, we can go down a whole nother
Good old
hour's worth
boys
of-
club, baby.
Yeah, like we could go down a whole nother rabbit hole there, but like, I'll say this. I'm the only guy in town hosting a watch party who don't have it.
Yep. Yep. You're right about
Right?
that, actually.
I'm probably one of the only guy, and I'm not saying this to be an asshole. I'm probably one of the only guys that has a deal with a clothing company who don't have it. A hat that don't have it. A boot company that don't have it. I have everything else but that. And I don't hate the guys who have it. I want that to be clear. I don't hate anything that they do. I think if you're going to do it and you got a card, great, go do it. But just understand, I'm coming and I will be there. And when I get there, let's go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I take it just as serious as I did riding bulls. I want to win. And they can say it's not a competition, whatever. Like, I'm hungry, right? And if there's only 131 of us and only 41 of you get rodeos, that pie is incredibly small, right? And everybody has a fork. So, like, how do you... Garrett Jurgen will have Cheyenne Frontier Days forever. Boyd Plahamus has had Denver for as long as I have known about Denver.
Dude, that's the biggest problem with rodeo as a sport, is all of this. The loyalty that goes on beyond if they're even actually doing a good job anymore. And it's not just the announcer I'm talking about. It's the stock. It's the judging.
everything,
It's
yeah.
every single piece of this sport needs to evolve. And they refuse to evolve it because it's going to do less for them personally, the people that are in charge of it.
Well, like,
And that's what you're running into is gatekeeping, bro.
you know what drives me nuts?
They don't like that.
I'm going to get on the soapbox for a minute. We pray before every rodeo. We literally say, Lord, bless this arena. Please watch over us. And then we go out there in the most blasphemous way and be vain in his name.
Yeah.
And do it for me, and do it for me, and do it for me. When I pray for you, I do it because I love you. I do it because I want you to be better. I want you to be okay. When I pray for that arena, I want that arena to be good. I want the horses to be fine. I want the stock to be good. I want you to leave that rodeo and go home and feel okay. When I pray, it's not scripted. I will not read a scripted prayer. I hate when they do that. Hey, can you read this? No. When I'm praying from right here. So, like, all these people speak Christianese. All these people say, I'm a Christian. But then they go do the most prideful, like, why? You know, if you have the famine mentality, you will starve to death. The lion can't live forever. And he only dies one of two ways. Either he gets killed or he starves to death. I just don't understand that mentality. Like, I think if there were bigger, better rodeos and more of them, why not? Like, you're going to find somebody for hiring a guy who doesn't have his card when that stock contractor or that producer reached out to that guy. It's not like, you know, announcers aren't going, hey, can I announce that rodeo? The guys are going out there and saying, hey, I can't announce this rodeo because I don't have a card. And if you think the PRCA is hard,
oh man,
you ought to try getting in the PBR.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Like, it's hard. And it's hard because they're looking for a specific thing. There's a specific voice, look, you know, whatever. Like, I get it. All right. I got a face for radio. That's fine. Don't put me on TV. Put me in the arena where I want to be anyway. I want to be talking about the guys, you know. But yeah, it's gatekeeping, and it's frustrating, and it's one of those things that, like, you got to toe the line to shut up, and I hate that. I'm very bad at being told what to do. I'm even worse at keeping my mouth shut, obviously. And I hate that is like I got a phone call a couple weeks ago before I came out here, and the conversation was, hey, you're really good, but shut the hell up, because it'll never happen if you keep telling the truth like that. And it's okay. So I just do what everybody wants me to do, and then you guys are going to give me the crumb or whatever. Like, come on, man. If the best is going to do it, let the best do it. It's the same as the top 15, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Best guys are here. Let them do it. And don't let the guy that goes last out in the bronc riding be higher than the guy who had a better ride at 14. It's the same thing. Like, I don't know. I could get frustrated and mad about it all day long, but at the end of the day, honestly, like, God will do what God's going to do. He's got me here. I'm incredibly blessed. Like, I'm as blessed to be here in that cabaret every night as I could be.
Yep.
I'm humbled by it. You know, guys go to the convention and they talk to committees. Those committees can come in here and listen to me talk for 2 hours a night. They can hear me on a microphone. They can see me work a crowd. They can kind of understand how I work with a funny man. And if that's not a good enough job resume for them, like, don't hire me. You know what I mean? But there are guys that would kill to be in there. There are guys that want to be in there, probably deserve to be in there. There's guys that, plenty of them, that deserve to have what I have. I wouldn't have any of it if it weren't for my wife. I love her more than anything. She is. I wouldn't be here without her. And I hate that every time I say that I get choked up, because it sounds like I'm not that big of a pussy, but I love, like, my wife is the entire reason that I exist right now. God and my wife. And so, I mean, if you guys want to wrap this up, like, I'll say this at the end. I'm incredibly blessed, and I'm gifted to do what I do. I wouldn't be here without God. I wouldn't be here without y'all. Doug, you're one of my best friends in the world, and I love you. Logan, I would probably weigh 45 pounds more and not be able to wear a belt buckle without you. And I appreciate you so much. And Paul, like, man, your mentality and your, like, ability to just be a dad and be a coach and be a husband and be a faithful guy to God is, like, I wish you weren't so dang good at it, because you know what I mean? Like, you make it look easy. And I really, like, I appreciate all three of you. I don't know if I'll ever get a pro rodeo card or not. Here's what I do know. I'm going to be friends with y'all, whether I do or not. Yeah, and I'm going to be married to my wife forever. And I'm going to continue to live my life the way I've been living it. And everything I've done in the past is in the past, and I did it. And I'm here now. So round 10's tonight. We're gonna give away some
Here
gold
we go.
buckles.
Yeah, we are.
Josh Frost
Josh Frost, baby.
went ahead
It's
and
happening.
won himself a world title,
Let's go.
and I think that speaks a lot to you guys' ability to get a guy in shape to win a world title. Damian Brennan, guys, he's here. Last year he had an opportunity to be in the top 15, and this year I think he's going to win a world title. You guys do something incredibly special, and I'm proud of all of you. And I think everybody should do what you guys are doing. Everybody should be on your team, every one of them. So thank you guys so much for having me on here. I love all of you. I hope everybody gets home safe. Round 10's tonight, so let your hair down, girls. It's time to party.
It's time to party. Where can people find out more about you, bro? Just real quick.
Skip Ransom Official _ on Instagram. Skip Ransom on Facebook. Skip Ransom Official on TikTok as well. I don't post a whole lot on TikTok, but
Is there a Jeffrey Ransom profile we can find anywhere?
We never
he doesn't exist. Don't dead name me.
we never got into the ransom notes.
Oh, buddy.
Ransom notes are great.
Listen, ransom notes happened on the shitter at 11 p.m. I saw a lady running barrels. I got frustrated. I made a post about her riding a rocket donkey, and it went nuts. And then I realized that people understood from a perspective that I see rodeo like, you guys are all kind of batshit crazy. And I'm going to expose you a little bit because it's funny, right? People laugh at them. But that got me social media traction. And that got me a presence and a platform, which I'm sure helped me with everything else I have now. But ransom notes it's fun to do. I don't hardly do them anymore.
No.
I think I've run out of shit to
Anymore,
say about barrel racers.
I find that hard to believe.
But well, I mean, you can only cuss the weenie dog so much before they're like, all right, say something else, But that little piece of like, this is how I see rodeo athletes and like people behind the buck and shoots and like buckle bunnies and all those things. Everybody else sees them too. They just don't wordsmith them the way that I did. I think it's incredibly hilarious when a guy is walking a horse down the alleyway in tennis shoes and he's got the key set up like a janitor. You know what I mean? Like he's got 800 keys and none of them work to anything he owns. They're just there. And he's like wearing the tightest Wrangler jeans you can possibly find and a brush popper shirt. And you're like, dude, who dressed you? Did you get Crisco on your legs and jump off the bed to get dressed this morning? It's like, those are tight, brother. You're smuggling raisins in there. And he's getting run plumb over by a damn horse. And you're like, bro. And then she goes out there and blows past one, hits two, jumps the fence, heads on up and down. Where are you going? It's like everybody should see that and just laugh and make fun of them and make it fun. And then not do that when they are worth $100,000 and they go in there and kick your ass. You know what I mean? Yeah. But those women are the ones that laugh at it. They're like, yeah, I see that every day. Yeah. The jackpot queens. I love them.
Yeah. Check out Ransom Notes, even though you're going to have to scroll back a little bit to find them.
Scroll back.
But they are extremely.
They're coming back.
I'll repost a bunch of them.
Yeah, please do. Please do. Skip, thanks for being on this morning, buddy.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone, for listening over the last 10 days. And I cannot believe that we have finished. This is our last episode here this year. So we'll see you.
Till next year.
We'll see you live next year. And until next time.
All right.
We'll
Thanks,
catch you
guys.
later. Good work, buddy.
Thanks.